Well, hey crafty friends, it's Heidi Scott with DIY Dreaming, and I am super excited to show you how to make these sweet little flowers that have, these have love and hearts on them, so they're kind of Valentine's-ish, but you could take this idea and do it in like any pattern that you like, any colors that you like, any kind of fabric that you like. So it's really fun and really easy, and let me just take these out one at a time and show you. Aren't those sweet? This one I was fooling around earlier with the idea of making a leaf. And I just have these plopped in a mason jar full of pebbles. I'm not sure what they're ultimately going to live in. Anyways, so this is a super fun, easy craft that I will tell you is kind of addicting because it's almost instant gratification and they just are super cute. Okay, so first thing, you need to make your fabric. I'm starting with canvas duck. This is unbleached. It's kind of a cream color, but just so you know, you could also use white. And then I opted for this project to make my fabric in metallics. So I have here metallic gold ink, metallic silver ink, metallic rose gold ink, this is really pretty, and metallic copper, but honestly you could do whatever color is, seems to make sense for your project. And I just pulled these out just to show you that a few weeks ago I made these lavender sachets, and I made the fabric for that as well. And I used different stencil designs, and I used this purpley color for to create my fabric. Anyways, so it can totally be customized to whatever you want. So first thing I'm going to show you is how to make your own fabric using canvas, a stencil, and some ink. Then we'll move on and we'll actually assemble a flower, and I'll show you the really fun part, which is doing this stacked canvas strips with doilies and buttons. And then we'll talk about embellishing the stem. So lots of good stuff to show you here. Okay, so the fabrics that I used for those ones I just showed you involved a stencil that said love, 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 love. It's an all over pattern. That one is still available if you're watching this live, and in fact, it's on clearance. It also involved this all-over heart pattern, which is not available anymore. This is the love that is still available, and it's on clearance. I'm going to use this one because I'm loving this one. I just did glass etching with it. I just used it to make this sweet little lavender sachet. I'm going to use this one, but there's a roses pattern, and then there's, I don't know, at least 30 more all over pattern kinds of fabric, kinds of stencils that you can use. So I'm going to do this on this piece right here, and I'm going to use all covered here. I'm going to use, I think I decided on copper, but I could do a mix of colors too. And these ink jars, in case you're wondering, they last forever. And you can use these on a t-shirt, a tea towel, a tote bag, an apron, a sweatshirt, a pair of jeans. And once you heat set it with a hot iron and some parchment paper, it's completely permanent. It's not going to chip, fade, or peel. You can wash it, and you can even dry it. Of course, these sweet little flowers will not be getting washed or dried, but just to let you know that the little pot of ink lasts a very long time, and it is permanent. Okay, so I'm just going to put some on my squeegee, and we'll just apply it here. It's going to take, I don't know, a few hours to dry, and then I will heat set it with my iron. I'm not going to do this whole piece. I just really want to show you how easy this process is. And I'll use this piece of fabric that I'm creating for something in the future. I hang on to all my scraps because you never know when you're going to want a piece of custom fabric for a future flower project or something. And so don't throw away whatever little scraps or bits you might have left over. Okay, let's say that is good. All right, do I have something that I can put this on? Throw it in my tub. All right, and I'm just gonna do the peel and reveal. You can see how pretty that is. Isn't that pretty? Okay, this is going in my tub of water until I can get out into my kitchen to clean it, and this is what this piece of fabric will look like. I could have mixed a bunch of colors, like I did with this one. This is copper and silver. Or I could have done a bright color, like this. Or I could do black and cream. I mean, there's so many different things that you could do. Okay, so that's how you make the fabric. You stencil it, you let it dry, and then you heat set it. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about the flower. And I'm just using kind of a flower shape, which is not even symmetrical or great, but it honestly does not matter. And my flower is about, it's about 6 by 6-ish, size-wise. But you can do any different size that you want. Like this one was big. It also was just round, and I glued some doilies in the edges of it. Okay, so I'm doing this part in plain canvas because it's going to get covered up. So let's just start. Let me figure out how my pieces go together. If they still do, I can't remember. Okay, good enough. Does this possibly go here? I did not do a good job cutting the front and the back. Okay, and I'm gonna start out with just doing part of the edge of this to close it up so that I can build on top of it. So I'm just gonna go with some hot glue. I'm using low temperature Surebonder hot glue. And I'll go about 3/4 of the way around it, and then we'll trim this up a little bit. And then we'll talk about the fun part, which is the decoration. Don't forget and close your whole flower up, or you'll be sad, because it'll be a pain. And also don't forget to do the stem, which I bought some new wooden dowels. These were like $1.40 at Walmart in craft section. Okay, so I left this much open. We'll do one of these dowels when we get a little bit further along. And we'll fill it with just your basic polyfill and glue it closed. Let me quickly trim this up a little bit since I did such a terrible job making these sides match. So you could do these flowers, in my opinion, for any season of the year. You could do these very fallish and do like orange and olive and those kind of tones. You could do very springy and do baby pink. You could do this on white canvas. I personally love this cream, this unbleached canvas duck the best, but some people like the white better. Okay. Good enough. Okay, so this is going to be our flower, and I'm going to insert this in here once we get further along so that this is how it will stand up. Okay, and this is going to be the front. Okay, so to create this look, which I call stacked canvas strips with doilies, you want to create some strips like these. And they can be plain as well. And all I do to create that is just take a little snip. And usually they're about 1 inch wide. And then you just tear. You're going to get these. You're going to do a bunch of those. Pull your strings off. Let's do another. They don't have to be all the exact same width, obviously. I didn't make those even. And you can fray them up as much as you would like. Okay, so let's see, how big, let's use some of these. How wide do I want my little strips to go? I pretty much want them a little bit shorter than the width of my flower. So this is like 5.5 inches. And I'm going to do a bunch that same length. I am covered in little scraps. I will hang on to this because you never know when I need a little teeny piece. Let's cut one of this. Okay, so I'm going to start with 4, and I'm just going to do up, across, and diagonal. And all I'm doing is putting a little blob of glue in the center. So there's up, and here is down. You see what I'm saying? It's just like crisscross, crisscross, crisscross. And we'll come back and tack things down a little better than what they happen to be right now. I think these are so cute that I am completely addicted. I spent on and off a good chunk yesterday playing with this idea of these flowers. And then I've been doing it already this morning. And now I'm doing a live on it. So I do honestly try to mix things up here on DIY Dreaming. So I'm not doing the same thing all the time. But dang, these are pretty fun and cute. So, okay, and I'm going to choose another. Well, I want something with words. Do I have anything with words that isn't just silver? Not really. That's okay. So, this can be a mostly silver one. This work? Yeah, it's a little short, but that works. There's another piece. So now I have 4 more pieces that I'm going to do the same thing. Crisscross, crisscross, crisscross. You're going to have glue strings for days and days and days and days. And little bits of canvas everywhere. But that's okay, right? Isn't that cute? Okay, so then I could keep going. Just looking at my other flowers. But I think I won't. I think that's plenty full. So there's 8 strips. Then the next thing I want to do is pick a doily or 2. And where do I get my doilies? That's like the most common question I get in recent days. Well, I inherited some from my Mamu, my grandmother, and then I found them at thrift stores, antique stores, and I've had people give them to me. And this was this beautiful table runner that I have piece by piece cut the little bits off. It's better if I'm sitting so I can see. And used that. And the thing about this, for example, is that it wasn't in perfect shape. Like sometime years ago, somebody had spilled coffee or tea or something on it. So it was most likely not going to be used again. And I don't feel one bit bad about cutting something up and using it and loving it instead of putting it in a landfill. So especially if they have sentimental value, like if it was something my own grandmother made, but it's stained or damaged or whatever, and I can cut it apart and use it, then I love that. I don't know. Tell me in the comments how you feel about that. Some people just don't like the idea of cutting something up. I'm looking for another piece of something. I know I had a big piece of lace. Where did that go? We'll take that. Okay, so this is a little bit of a doily, and it's going to go right here in the center. I'm just looking to see what's the front and what's the back. Where's my up and down? I kind of want to know that. Okay. So here's where the inside is going to go. And next I'm going to do a button. And for all of these, I decided, you know, to switch them up a little bit here and there. Like how I wrapped the base of them, the different strips. Some have cream colored doilies, some have white, but I did them all with the same button combination. So let me show you that. So I just have some of these mother of pearl buttons. I don't know where those came from. I've had them for a while. And then my husband bought me this little teeny card of gray mother of pearl buttons when he was out in Oregon visiting my son, and he went to my favorite button store. So I'm using those two, and I'm just layering them. And that's all there is to that. You can always layer, you don't have to. And then I'm going to glue this right here. So everything here that I'm working with are little bits and pieces of things that I had on hand. And if you start acquiring and collecting and keeping little scraps of this and that, then you can make these kind of crafts, and it's practically free. I paid nothing extra for this project. Okay, let's stuff it, and then we'll insert our little dowel. This is not my favorite polyfill. I couldn't get the kind I really love. This came from Walmart. The polyfill I really love has a picture of a doll on it, and it says ideal for doll making, and I think it's heavier. So this is softer, but it's what I have, and so it's what I'm going to use. But if you're looking at polyfill and you don't just have a pillow that you can take apart, look for the stuff that says ideal for doll making, because it's really stiff and it's super nice to work with. This suffices just fine. It's just softer. Okay, and you can fill your little flowers up as full or not as you want. I am going to use my finger to poke a hole down the center where I'm going to stick my dowel. And then I'm going to glue one side of this last little 2 loops closed and stuff a little more polyfill in there. I want to make sure that I have polyfill in front of my little dowel and kind of behind it, if that makes sense. So that you can't see the impression of the dowel when you look at the back of the flower. Okay, so this is what I have left. One little bit to close. And I'm going to put a teeny blob of hot glue on my dowel so it can stay in place. And just so you know, this is why I use low temperature hot glue, because you're going to get it on your fingers, and it is definitely hotter when it mixes with that polyfill. Like you can see that stuff that kind of squished out. I got that on my hands. It's hot, but it's not going to kill me. But I tell you what, if you were using high temperature hot glue and you got some of that polyfill squished out onto your finger, you would really feel that. Okay, so here's the back and here's the front, and it's covered in strings and little bits of canvas. Look how cute that is. Isn't that darling? Okay, so now I want to do something with my stem, and we'll do a leaf too. So let me get a piece of canvas out so I don't forget to show you that. Okay, so since I did a white doily in the center, I'm just going to use this random little piece of white Dollar Tree lace. To cover my dowel. So I'm going to put a bead of glue all the way to the bottom. When I do my arrangement, I may end up cutting some of these shorter. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, so you can see what I've got going on there. Let's trim this off. Let me just wrap this around the back and hope that it will go all the way. We're close enough. It's going to be poked into a pot of some sort with other bits, so it'll be fine if it has a teeny bit that doesn't get covered. For the other ones, I just took strips of doilies and I just wrapped it around and around and around. And then for this one, I just took one of these strips and just twisted it around and glued it on there. That works just fine. This is definitely a messy, glue stringy, scraps all over the place craft. See how that's covered, and there's a little tiny bit where I didn't pull it tight enough or it didn't quite close, but it's on the back and it's just fine if you ask me. Okay, let's do a leaf. Leaves can be any size that you want, and although I think the bigger the better. You know what the shape is of a leaf, I'm sure. I am stuffing my leaves, so I need another one. I'm always looking, where can I do it that I will use the least amount of my canvas? Okay, that works just fine right there. And then I'll hang on to every single scrap. So lots of people are on and watching, and I hope you guys, this is what we're working on in case you joined late. These adorable little flowers that can be customized a zillion different ways. Okay, I'm going to glue this puppy together and leave part of it open on the side because that would be the easiest spot to get into it. Okay, and then I want to have a little dimension to my leaf, so I know it's hard to see, but I'm going to do a little bit of a fold on my leaf, on the top. I'm going to do that before I stuff it. So I'm just going to do a little, oh my gosh, look how bad my hot glue gun is. Strings everywhere. So I'm just going to do a little bead down the center and then fold it in half and pinch that. And this is what that looks like. And it's only on the front leaf. It's not on the back. Did it glue through? No, it did not. Okay, so now we need just a teeny bit polyfill. You don't have to stuff your leaves if you don't want to, but I think it adds a lot more interest to them. So cram all that polyfill back inside as much as you can. And then I'm going to pinch those pieces together into that hot glue. And it always seems to squish out a little bit of the polyfill, so I'm just going to trim that off. And here is my leaf. Okay, and then I'm just going to attach it somewhere here on my flower. I don't know if you can hear this, but our dog Molly is standing at my craft door crying. She wants food. She is always hungry. So I know that's what she's crying about. And my husband will say, she's already eaten. But I will get tired of listening to her, and I'm the sucker. I will end up feeding her again, just so that she's not crying all day long. Okay, can you see what I did? And you could put that however high or low you want. You could do more than one leaf. I just did one on each one of these flowers. I will spend some time removing glue strings, and I will get some good pictures. Okay, then the last thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to look and see, do any of my little strips need to go shorter? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fringe the outside edge just by pulling some strings. This is what I mean when I say fringe. Can you see right here how it has the fringe on the end of it? So this is a good project to do while you're sitting in a comfy chair watching TV. It's just to put a whole bunch of these in your lap and trim up the edges of your flowers with scissors and pull off extra strings, fringe things up good. Okay, so that is pretty much it. Let me show you my flowers one final time, and then I'll go over one more time where everything came from. Okay. This is just a piece of a doily wrapped around and around and around. There's one. This is the one that we just did. Here's another. And if these things hanging down bug you, it's not hard at all to do a teeny little tack of glue that just keeps everything from flopping forward. And then here's the last one. Let me tell you how I did this one. And then we'll go back to the supplies. Okay, this one was just round. And I took a bunch of these doilies and I basically just cut them in half and glued them on one piece. And then I layered another piece of canvas over the top. So they're sandwiched in between my two pieces. And I need some more glue right there. Need to trim these up a little bit. And that's how I got that, because otherwise this is just round. So There's no way I'm going to get them all to face forward. Aren't they cute? Okay, so the canvas came from any fabric store. You can order that on Amazon too. I do tend to like the thicker, stiffer canvas, so look at buying heavyweight. You can get it in cream, you can get, which is called unbleached, or you can get it in white. They also have some prints and yellow and red and a bunch of different colors. But for my projects here today, I used unbleached. Then I made my fabric for the strips. And I made that just using an all-over pattern stencil like this one, this pretty one, which is called Mini Blooming Roses, and some ink. And I used copper for this piece. So any all-over pattern stencil and any color ink, whatever you're gonna like. But it needs to be ink. Okay, and then you let that dry and you heat set it. Then you tear it into strips. You do a little snip and you tear. And then you glue together the front and back of your flower. They don't have to be perfect shapes. And you just start gluing your strips on crisscross, winky wonky, winky wonky. I think I did on this one, I did 8 strips. And they, for this particular flower, they were around 5-ish, 5.5 inches long. Then I added a doily and a button. Then I filled this with polyfill, stuck my dowel in, glued it shut, covered it with something. You don't have to, but I opted to. I just used a piece of lace, or here was part of a doily. Oh, and this one I put the little word love right here, but I didn't do that on any others. I don't know why I did that, I just felt like it. And then I made a leaf, which has some dimension because I folded the top layer over and pinched that with hot glue, and then I stuffed it and added it to there. Added the button, and that is pretty much it. This is going to look a total mess, but let me just lay these out for you, and I'll get good pictures. So, this is what we did. If you decide that you're going to make some of these, I would love to see what you come up with. Feel free to do yours exactly like this, or get creative and do them in your own style. You could put them in a pot that has styrofoam in it. Yes, I don't have any sitting in my craft room right now that I could show you, but yes, you absolutely could. Or I was just sticking mine for the time being in a mason jar that's filled with pebbles. And that's pretty much it. Okay, so if you want to look at the pattern stencils that you can get from my website, just say here in the comment stencils, S-T-E-N-C-I-L-S, or check the first comment because I'll drop a link too. If you want to look at the different colors of ink, and there are a ton of different colors, these are just the metallics. Say ink, I-N-K, here in the comments. Or you can say both things. And I will message you a link, or check the first comment and I'll try to drop that there too. Anyways, I hope you give it a try. This project cost basically nothing. The dowels were probably less than 10 cents a piece. The buttons less than 10 cents a piece. The doilies less than 10 cents a piece. The fabric less than 10 cents a piece. Little scraps and bits of lace and whatnot. A little bit of polyfill. I mean, super affordable craft. All right, I see lots of people saying stencils, and Magnolia probably has 25 or 30 different patterns. They have mini tulips, they have roses, they have all kinds of different things that would be lovely for a project like this. So don't think that you necessarily have to do this one. And if you're looking for something that is on clearance and you're watching live, check this one out because it's 50% off on the clearance page. So if you want to look at clearance stencils, say clearance, CLEARANCE. There's a long list and it is growing all the time. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this, that it gave you tons of ideas, showed you how easy this was, and inspired you to make some stuffy flowers with stacked canvas strips, doilies, and buttons.